Okay, Frank, number 68 is next on your list. This is one that I've been looking forward to because I've heard about this film for a long time, and this kind of finally gave me the push to watch it. It's Smoke Signals. Smoke Signals is a 1998 comedy drama directed by Chris Eyre. It stars Adam Beach, Evan Adams, Irene Bedard, Gary Farmer, Tantu Cardinal, Cody Lightning, Simon Baker, and more. When a young man named Victor's father dies in Phoenix, Arizona, he has to travel there from his reservation in Idaho. Short on money, he agrees to let Thomas, a family friend who offers up his savings, a chance to tag along, even though Victor basically cannot stand Thomas. Your thoughts on Smoke Signals are? The most quotable film ever, at least with us Native Americans. Quick backstory, I don't know if this is even interesting or not, but when I was in film school, Smoke Signals was a movie that a lot of our textbooks would reference as a great example of successful independent film. Made for a small budget, returned a lot of money, got a lot of exposure. Adam Beach went on to star in, some pretty big films. And so Smoke Signals was always a movie that was like kind of on my radar, but I just, for some reason, I never got around to watching it. I don't know why. But it was one that I always wanted to watch, and having it be on this list kind of gave me the push to do so. And I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was heartwarming. It's a really good story of like father and son relationships, how choices that are made affect, people down the road, and the way that trauma affects people. Victor is sort of like the main character in the story. Victor's father, it's set up in the very first scene. He saves Thomas, this young child Thomas, who I think is supposed to be about Victor's age. He saves Thomas from a fire that consumes Thomas's house and Thomas's parents. So both of Thomas's parents die in this fire, and it haunts him for a long time because he was close friends with these people, and ends up causing him to go pretty hard into alcohol, and breaks up his marriage, and he ends up leaving his wife and leaving Victor. And when events like that happen in people's lives, they cause trauma that then can affect everything else in their lives, that can affect the lives of the people that are around them. And I think that Smoke Signals touches on that in a really fantastic way. One thing I thought was really interesting, and I don't know whether this is purposeful or not, was that Victor and Thomas both represent very distinctive personality types. Victor is, sort of like a realistic, very like based in reality kind of person, but also, sort of negative or pessimistic about the world and about the things that are going on around him. Thomas is basically the complete opposite of it. He's sort of ignorant, but that ignorance is like allows him to be a very like positive and idealistic person. So they're two separate entities that have to sort of learn how to deal with each other and meet in the middle, essentially. One thing that I thought was a little difficult for me watching this film was I feel like there was a lot of jokes that, as someone who doesn't have a lot of experience in that community, just wouldn't understand. There was some things said and some things done where I was like, is that a joke? Should I be laughing at that? The one example was there's these two women, and they're probably like Victor and Thomas's age, and they're driving backwards in a car for some reason. They're driving down the road backwards, and they're talking about a lot of stuff, and the whole time that scene is going on, I'm just thinking, like, is that some kind of inside joke? Or is it just that 90s thing of like, well, we got to have some weird characters, some offbeat characters. And I just didn't, like, there was just some little things like that where I was like not sure if that was supposed to mean something else. And I even, just for anybody else who's watching, I even messaged you, Frank, about the fact that they always say "isn't it?" and I had no idea what that meant, or if that was some kind of like colloquialism that is specific to a certain group, or if it had a broader meaning, or if it was just I didn't know. And that was a little bit confusing, but you sort of explained it to me. One thing that I will say that, like, I felt like I could connect with Victor in my annoyance with Thomas. Thomas is incredibly annoying in this movie, and I mean that's kind of a pat on the back to the actor who played him. He does his job very well. That's what he's supposed to be. He's supposed to sort of annoy Victor into action, and he does a great job of it. But there's some random things that I wrote down here on my notes, like Victor has a pretty bad wig after he cuts his hair. I guess that's a spoiler. There's a point where he cuts his hair and he's wearing a really, really awful wig during that. I'm assuming it's because he didn't want to actually cut his hair in real life. I will say, I think that this film touched on a lot of great moments, especially the closer that they get to Phoenix to pick up the ashes. There's some great moments on the bus ride out there, and then when they get there and they meet Susie Song, there's some really like touching and poignant moments. And then when they get back, I'm just gonna spoil this a little bit, but when they get back to the reservation, Victor splits up the ashes and gives half of them to Thomas. And I gotta be honest with you, like, I teared up. I teared up in that. It was very, like, it got to me. And I think that this film is a little bit difficult to enter into, but once you get into it and you get into the world and everything's going on, like, it really opens up. And so you have to get past like the first maybe like 20-ish minutes or so, and things sort of start to pick up and make more sense, and you sort of learn the story of these guys and learn the story of Victor's dad. And once all of those pieces start coming into place, then the movie gels really well. And the ending sort of, it hits you in all the right places. So would I recommend Smoke Signals? Absolutely. Thought it was a great film, especially for an indie film of that era. There was a lot of garbage that was released in the 90s, but I would say that Smoke Signals is definitely one of the better pieces of independent cinema from that era. Okay, next up on your list is number 69. It's the Kurt Russell film Executive Decision. Never seen this one, but always down for a good Kurt Russell film. So until next time, Frank and anybody else who's watching, feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff, and I will see you in the next one.